Four candidates vying to lead Arizona's largest city. Right now, a live special event. 12 News and the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute proudly present the Phoenix Mayoral Debate. Good evening, everyone, and welcome live to the Sneaky Big Studios here in the Valley of the Sun. I'm your host tonight, Mark Curtis, and we are so glad that you're along with us as we present the Phoenix Mayoral Debate, presented by 12 News and the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute. Bram Resnick will be your moderator tonight. He's Team 12's political insider, along with Team 12's Michael Doudna. But before we begin tonight, we have a message from the Honorable Sandra Day O'Connor, retired Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Society at all levels has a need to work together to solve the many challenges facing our nation. I know that it's possible for people to sit down together and engage in cooperative problem solving. And we'd like to create an atmosphere again where there's room for civil debate and consensus building.
And tonight, you have a chance to weigh in. We want to make this as innovative as possible. So if you have one of these, you have a cell phone, you can possibly ask one of these candidates a question. All you have to do is text your question to Team 12 at 602-444-1212. Now, let's meet the candidates. Kate Gallego served on the Phoenix City Council from 2013 to 2018. Her top issues on the council were transportation, the environment, and fair wages. She led the Prop 104 campaign that raised taxes for mass transit. Gallego formerly worked in planning and development for SRP, and she holds an MBA. Moses Sanchez is a former Tempe Union High School board member. He's an executive at a family-owned marketing business. Sanchez has MBA and business management degrees. He's also a Navy veteran of Afghanistan and a naval reservist. His family immigrated from Panama to the U.S. when he was a child. Nicholas Sarwark is making his first run for public office. He's chairman of the executive committee of the Libertarian Party. Sarwark is an executive at his family's 76-year-old car dealership in the downtown Phoenix area. He's worked as a public defender and holds degrees in law and computer science. Daniel Valenzuela served as a Phoenix City Councilman from 2011 to 2018. His top agendas on the council were jobs and education, and he helped expand youth coding classes. He's a City of Glendale firefighter and sits on several community boards. And now that you know a little bit about each candidate, it's time to meet them live and hear what they have to say as we turn things over to our moderator, Team 12's Bram Resnick.
Thank you very much, Mark. There are so many big issues confronting the next mayor and city council: the water supply, public safety, and how your money is being spent. The city of Phoenix is holding a special election on November 6th for the mayor's job after Greg Stanton's resignation last spring. If one of these four candidates does not get more than 50% of the vote, there will be a runoff between the top two finishers next March of 2019. Now, here are the ground rules for tonight's debate. We'll start with a 30-second opening statement from each candidate and end with a 30-second closing statement. The time limit on these statements will be enforced, candidates. After the opening statements, I will ask questions. The candidates can question each other. Their answers will not be timed. I do ask the candidates to be respectful of each other's time, and there is a no filibuster rule. Remember that. Full disclosure, as many viewers already know, my wife is a City of Phoenix employee. Now, to our audience, please maintain a respectful silence during the debate. There will be two opportunities to applaud for the candidates tonight at the very end of the debate. And right now, as we begin, please put your hands together. We start with the candidates' opening statements. We drew lots to determine the order, and Kate Gallego, you will go first.
Thank you to Channel 12 and the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute for hosting this important debate. I'm Kate Gallego, and I've had the pleasure of representing downtown Phoenix, South Phoenix, and Levine on the Phoenix City Council for the last 5 years. Those are the areas of Phoenix where we've seen the most investment in infrastructure and the most job growth. I want to bring that opportunity to our entire city. I want to build a city that works for everyone. I want to work together with you to create good jobs, to fix our streets, to invest in safe neighborhoods, and build a better Phoenix.
Thank you very much. Nicholas Sarwark.
In 1942, my grandfather came to Phoenix with one lung and the money in his pocket, and he built a business in this valley that has served for 3 generations, 76 years. When I returned with my wife Valerie and our children, Ruth, Joel, Ava, and Zane, we wanted to build a family in Phoenix, build that dream, continue to give back to the city that had been so good to my family. And right now, we can't do that because the city council can't focus on core services and not saddling our children who are going to grow up in this city with $2.3 billion in pension debt.
Thank you very much, sir. That's 30 seconds. Apologize. Daniel Valenzuela.
I seek the office of mayor for the same reasons I became a firefighter: to serve, to give back to a community that has given me so much. As a lifelong Phoenician, raised primarily by a single mom with the help of the church and great organizations, I want to continue to move our city forward through the creation of good paying jobs and expanded educational opportunities. To Justice O'Connor and the O'Connor Institute, thank you. Mark and Bram, I look forward to our discussion.
All right, thank you very much. Moses Sanchez.
Good evening. I'm Moses Sanchez. I'm an immigrant, a Navy veteran, a teacher, and a small business owner. I'm running for mayor of Phoenix because I, like many Phoenix families, am sick and tired of the dysfunctional status quo at City Hall. Phoenix families deserve better than they're getting. My diverse background and leadership experience is what's prepared me to be the next mayor, and I'm excited to share my vision with you tonight.
And thank you very much. Well done. The order of our closing statements will be reversed at the end of the debate. So let's get started. We want to start with water tonight. Phoenix getting a wake-up call about the threat to our water supply. One of our main sources of water, Lake Mead, could dry up within the next 8 years. There's a 20% chance of that happening. The City Water Services Director told me on Sunday Square Off this past weekend she is preparing for that worst-case scenario. She proposes $1.5 billion in spending, part of it to get the water Phoenix has banked over the years and now appears might need. And also, water rates could rise as much as 12% in the next 2 years, or perhaps even more. Kate Gallego, is Catherine Sorensen being too aggressive with this plan or not moving fast enough?
Catherine Sorensen is making a responsible decision. We need to plan ahead. One thing that's really set Arizona apart is our leaders have worked in a bipartisan way, across party lines, across time, to prepare for our water supply. Phoenix has a water supply to get us through a drought, but it's not in the right place. So Catherine Sorensen has proposed a responsible infrastructure development plan that will help us make sure that we can get water, particularly to the northern part of our city that is so dependent on the Colorado River. I'm pleased to have worked in water rights for the Salt River Project and have been endorsed by both of the mayors with whom the City of Phoenix has water agreements, the mayor of Tucson, a Democrat, the mayor of Avondale, a Republican. So I come in with the experience to lead in a difficult time for water.
All right, thank you. Nick Sarwark, I wonder how you feel about water rates perhaps going up 12% or more.
The answer the city always has is we need more money out of your pocket. So when we run into a water crisis that everyone's seen coming, this is the West, where whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, we have planned ahead. We've stored water with Tempe. We have an aquifer we can put stuff into. But the city did not look ahead far enough to create the pumping infrastructure that's necessary to get the water back out. We need to not be hitting ratepayers with giant rate increases. We need to look at ways to serve the whole city without having these massive hits on our families, where water rates are going up incredibly high to plan for something that hasn't even happened yet.
But if there is no way to get the water out, what would you do?
We have to get the water out. We have to get the water back from Tempe that we've already banked with them.
What?
Not the aquifer water, the water from Tempe.
Okay, Daniel Valenzuela, what about that point that we should have seen this coming? The City Council should have seen this coming. The fact that banked water, there apparently wasn't a way to deliver it to the users who need it.
Well, far too often, the decisions that we have to make at the City Council many times are looked at as decisions that, could have been made several years ago, and perhaps that's true. Hindsight's 20/20. At the end of the day, local government is about problem solving, and we have an issue. Catherine Sorensen is someone that a couple of us know pretty well. Very, very respectable person, very well known for her subject matter expertise, and this is something that we knew was coming. What do we do about this? We have to see the issue for what it is. When you mentioned, Bram, about a water rate increase, that's one of the things that we have to consider. It's not the only thing. As we move forward, as we expand as a city, our infrastructure must expand, development. It's the kind of thing that should pay for itself in the future and how we plan.
So is this plan necessary? Do you support it?
Well, I would have to do some more research on it before I tell you that I'm supportive of a water rate increase. That said, I can't think of a more important resource to our city. And is it something that is in our future? Most likely. I can see that as a high likelihood. But when we do it, moving forward, we have to be responsible. As we move forward, there should be a plan in place to keep this type of infrastructure up to speed.
All right. Moses Sanchez, do you believe this threat to our water supply is real?
Bram, water was a problem 7 years ago. Water is a problem 5 years ago. Water is not a new problem. This isn't something that just happened. This has been an ongoing issue. And the fact of the matter is, the status quo at City Hall is they haven't addressed it. They haven't planned ahead. We could do a lot of different things. And 2 years ago, we had a water rate increase of 3%. Last year, 2%. Now the solution is 6% next year and 6% the year after that. Now, that's just unacceptable. When I talk to Phoenix families, you know what they're frustrated about? They're frustrated about hearing these water rate increases without any actual solutions to it. They don't see the results from it. People want to pay for this finite resource, but you know what? They want to see what comes out of it. And the City Hall, unfortunately, lacks a lot of transparency when it comes to that. One of the things we could do, I would propose a 10 for 100 program. My 10 for 100 program means that year over year, every single dollar that you save in your water bill, we will give you a 10% credit to a future bill. Now, I understand we can't conserve our way out of this problem, but I like the idea of incentivizing people to reduce their water consumption. And we can also...
I've got to end you there, but thank you for that. Another existential issue, pensions, public safety pensions. The city's pension expenses for police and fire personnel are ballooning. Benefit payments are virtually guaranteeing the city budget every year goes into a deficit. Last year, the council, in effect, refinanced its benefits, stretching them out, but also adding $2 billion in interest expenses. Daniel Valenzuela, did this maneuver take care of the pension problem?
It didn't take care of the pension problem. In fact, when we voted on this issue, in passing this particular item, those of us who supported it, and I'll speak for myself, set it up front. This is not taking care of the pension problem.
So what would you follow up with?
Well, we need more reforms, Bram. I will just take a moment in saying that I'm the one person on this stage that has actually done something around pensions and pension reform. I've led the effort with our City of Phoenix pension system, which now puts us on track as a city to save more than $1 billion over a 23-year period. I've co-chaired the effort, Prop 124, on the public safety side, where we are realizing the same type of savings. It's something that we have to continue to bring people to the table to and continue to reform as we move forward.
What's the next step?
The next step is to bring people together to actually take care of this. When we extended our payments, and it's easy to simply say we shouldn't have done that, okay? But if you can sort of equate it to the person who is at home watching, if you could afford to pay off your mortgage in 15 years, then why wouldn't you? And some people, probably most people, can't afford to do that, okay, right?
I want to go to Nick Sarwark. You must have strong opinions about the pension.
I do. And the reason is I have 4 children, all of whom are under the age of 8. And the problem with what the council did with these pensions in kicking the can down the road an extra 10 years, they save $15 million a year right now at a cost of $2.3 billion in extra interest payments. The thing that makes me so upset about this is not a single council member who is on the council who voted for it will pay those taxes. I won't pay those taxes. That is a millstone around my children's neck because those interest payments don't come due until my newborn Zane turns 18. Or 20, actually. They're kicking it so far into the future because they can't do what every small business owner knows how to do. When you don't have enough money, you reprioritize and you balance your checkbook.
Okay, reprioritize, balance the checkbook right now to pay off those benefits. How would you do it?
I would do it by saying, look, if you had an unforeseen gap in your paycheck was a little bit smaller, maybe 3 pennies smaller. You got 97 cents for every dollar. You would figure that out in your household. A Phoenix voter would figure out, how do I live on 97 cents out of every dollar? If we take just 3 pennies out of every line item in the Phoenix budget, we fill the pension hole, we meet our obligations to our first responders, our police and firemen who have served us now, and we don't saddle our children with $2.3 billion in debt.
Kate Gallego, if you took 3 pennies per dollar out of the budget, would that solve the problem?
That's not a real solution. We've had a lot of litigation over pension, and it's very clear that in the state of Arizona, you have to meet the obligations you have made to your employees. I've tried to lead by looking forward, looking at what got us into this hole in the first place. The pension, public safety pension is 40% funded. That's not acceptable. Previous elected officials made decisions that were very irresponsible about how the money was invested. And it's actually thinking about our children today that we made the decision we did about stabilizing the pension. Should we really say to today's children who had nothing to do with the huge dives in the pension funding that we're going to cut libraries for you and parks for you? We should spread that over time and make responsible decisions. I've also taken a lead as the chair of the Finance Committee at the City Council at looking at how we were invested. There were some very risky investments made in the past, and we've now hired consultants and are pushing for responsible investing that's consistent with best practices. I'll continue to fight. I was also very proud to lead.
What's the next step?
Fighting spiking, which is also very important. And I think it's important to know that we have 2 pension systems. One, the state really leads on those decisions, the public safety pension. In there, it needs to be looking at responsible compensation where we can afford the pension system, but also looking. What?
I'm sorry, I have to wrap it up there. Okay, thank you. We want to go to Mark Curtis right now, who's got a look at our voter panel. Mark.
All right, Bram, thanks. And I just want to thank all of our viewers here on 12 News who are sending in their text message questions for our candidates tonight at 602-444-1212. You can text Team 12. We'll try to answer some of your questions in just a few minutes. We also tonight have a voter panel assembled, 7 Phoenicians. Let's meet them.
My name is Stephanie Vasquez. I'm the owner of Fair Trade Cafe, and I am a Democrat.
I'm Suzanne Scher, and I'm a real estate agent here in Arizona, and I am a Republican.
I'm Jean Moore. I'm a small business owner here in Arizona. I'm left-leaning, and I've recently affiliated with the Democratic Party.
My name is Diana Brest. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm with the Republican Party.
My name is Janelle Wood, Black Mothers Forum, and I'm a non-party preference kind of person.
Phil Guana, self-employed, and I'm a Democrat.
Stephen Edwards. I've been in Arizona since 1981, and I'm a registered independent.
All right, as I mentioned, it's time to really get to know our voter panel, people that are very vested in the interests of Phoenix. Jean is with us tonight. And Jean, thank you for coming down. What is your question?
Thanks, Mark. We're talking about planning ahead, and that, to me, is one of the most important issues today. It's easy to throw money at things. We need to go beyond throwing money at them. We need to have real solutions, and the City Council and the Mayor's office are going to be very responsible for doing that. I want to know what's going to happen to make that happen.
Good question, Bram.
Well, how do you bring about the solutions we've been talking about? This council has been divided for the last few years, lost split votes. Daniel Valenzuela, can you start us off? How do you bring people together in a very specific way? Because there's been a lot of turmoil on this council.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, the mayor, if nothing else, the mayor of the city of Phoenix must be a coalition builder and a problem solver, and I've done that. I've worked with my colleagues on the Phoenix City Council to tackle issues like lifting the hiring freeze so that we can hire more police officers and firefighters. Chairing economic development, which means you have to bring your colleagues together, but also the business community together to diversify our economy, which now is led by information technology and healthcare, advanced manufacturing, and so on. So again, having that experience, extracting the politics out of the issue and not playing party politics is important for a mayor who, again, is focused on bringing people together to move our city forward.
Moses Sanchez, you've promised a fresh approach. What exactly does that mean?
It means focusing and bringing back our focus to being brilliant at the basics. That's not what City Hall has been doing. The status quo at City Hall, quite frankly, is dysfunctional and disconnected. There's a lot of partisan bickering to the point where recently we barely passed a budget. We've never seen that in our history. How do you get people to work together if they can't function? And I have a lot of experience, 22 years of experience as a veteran in the armed forces, leading men and women, both here at home and abroad, on very complex missions. And in order to achieve those complex missions, we had to be brilliant at the basics.
Okay, Kate Gallego makes a good point. The City Council could barely pass a budget this year. Diagnose the problem and how you would fix it.
We have a very diverse city council with a lot of different sets of opinions. It's important for the mayor to listen to everyone, to meet with people individually, and understand what drives their decision making, what are their priorities. I've shown that I can get things done unanimously. I just worked with Councilman Jim Waring, who has very different political opinions than mine, on sexual harassment reform. We saw what was happening at the state legislature where there was a member who was behaving inappropriately. They voted him out. We didn't have that ability at the City of Phoenix, and I led the effort to put something on the ballot to give us that opportunity, working with Jim Waring. It passed unanimously. So when we have important issues, I've shown the ability to bring people together and get things done.
Nicholas Sarwark, you are a newcomer to politics. How are you going to work around the ways of City Hall?
By not being part of City Hall. The council over the last term, and I saw it as a Phoenix small business owner watching what they were doing, engaged in sniping across the chamber, where whose fault was it, which side, which team caused this problem became more important than what's the solution. And unique among the candidates for mayor, I don't play for either of the two political teams currently on the council. I'm an honest broker, and I will work with anyone who wants to move Phoenix forward and focus on solutions and not on blaming. And that lets me build coalitions in a way that no other candidate in this race can do. And if I can do it as a public defender working with prosecutors who have very different goals, if I can do it as chairman of the Libertarian National Committee with 17 people with very different opinions, I can do it on the Phoenix City Council by focusing on our core services and how do we solve the problems for Phoenicians instead of who got us into this mess in the first place.
All right, thank you. We are going to go to Michael Doudna now. Michael?
Thanks, Bram. We also wanted to get social media involved, and we wanted to take a question from our 12 News Facebook page. And this question will come from Sarah Tabor, sending this one in from North Phoenix. She says, vagrants sleep on bus benches and ride the light rail for free along 19th Avenue and Northern, which she says is terrible and lowers property value. And she wants to know what the candidates would do about that. Bram?
Great question. We've heard that a lot. Kate Gallego, you championed light rail. It is now being connected to a crime problem or a homelessness problem. And just speak to that, please, and the larger issue of what appears to be increasing homelessness in our city.
Thank you for the great question. I believe that transportation does give people great opportunities to get to medical appointments, to get to jobs, to get to school, and I'm proud to support expanding transportation options in Phoenix. I was also proud to support making sure that we have security investments to keep our riders, the employees on the rail system, and others safe, and to make sure that we discourage people who aren't paying. We've done significant enforcement, and we've seen that that's working. We need to do more.
How real is this problem? How significant is it?
Homelessness is up 60% in 2 years. For someone in the business world, something going up 5% in 2 years is a big problem you have to pay attention to. And it's something that will be a priority for me and has been. One thing that I've really worked on, and I think we need to continue to do, is going after the drug companies for profiting on opioids. The addiction rate of opioids is something that we see every day, and it's really hurting our community, our first responders have to deal with it. It's contributing to homelessness.
Okay.
I've also fought to make sure we have more housing options. So I recently led an effort that got a $30 million grant, which we've leveraged into $150 million for affordable housing. We need to make sure people have housing options.
Okay, let's end it on that note. We'll go to Moses Sanchez. You heard how real the problem, how Kate Gallego defines it, 60% increase. What would you do about it?
The status quo with homelessness and poverty is that since 2014, homelessness has spiked 150%. We are number 2
in Phoenix.
In Phoenix, and we are number 2 in the nation in extreme poverty. That is unacceptable. As the next mayor, we could do 2 things immediately. One, short term, we can reduce the regulations on a lot of these homeless shelters, the barriers that they face, and we can increase capacity. City Hall's not doing that. Long term, we can implement the First Step Phoenix initiative. My vision for this initiative is one that helps provide resources and funding while working with nonprofit organizations. Bram, this is a serious problem and it continues to grow. City Hall just hasn't been addressing it.
Daniel Valenzuela, serious problem. Can you loosen regulations on shelters to take care of it?
It is absolutely a serious problem. I disagree that it's not being taken care of. In fact, what I plan on doing on my first day of being a mayor is continuing what I did in my last day as a council member. I personally have sent out 52 invitations to local elected officials in our entire region, inviting them down to meet with me at the homeless shelter in downtown Phoenix so that we can all get on the same page. This isn't Phoenix's problem. In Maricopa County, there are 5,000 people who are homeless, half of which are women and families who are homeless in Maricopa County. We have 600 beds, right? So yes, it is an issue, but rather than point the finger, we all have to get on the same page. And so that's the first thing.
So what would you want this meeting to produce?
Well, I'll tell you what the first meeting did produce, Bram. It produced a conversation where you had local elected officials and business leaders for the first time, giving an audience to those that are dealing with this problem. And I'm talking about CAS. I'm talking about some of these facilities.
The shelter in downtown Phoenix.
The shelter in downtown Phoenix as an example, right? So another thing that I'm going to continue to do.
One more thing, please. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So the first thing is bringing people together. It is a behavioral health issue. And we're asking our police officers to be social workers. Okay. So why not get social workers in some police cars, which is something that I've been working on.
Okay.
Right?
I'm going to have to stop. I want to give Nick
Sure,
Sarwark a chance to respond.
Understand.
Nick?
There are as many reasons why people experience homelessness as there are homeless people. There are people with substance abuse issues. There are people with mental health issues. There are people who have had bad economic times and have gotten evicted out of their house that they just got. What we need to do is exactly the opposite of what the current council has done. They have sat down in the council chambers and decided this group is going to get the contract to deal with homelessness. This shelter is going to get the contract to deal with homelessness. What we need to do is not bring in elected officials from around the region. We need to bring in the people in the nonprofit sector who already care. Phoenicians have so much heart for their fellow citizens who already care, and let them do what they want to do to help. Remove the barriers to opening new facilities so that you can have facilities where if you have a son who's over 12 years old and you're not allowed to go to a normal shelter because they won't take boys who are into adolescence, there's a facility for you. If you have a mental health issue, there's a facility for you. The council wants to pick the one solution to put all of our eggs into, that one basket, whether it be light rail. Let's dump $500 million into one basket. Or if it be CAS, the shelter, or CBI, the contractor. We need to not try and overthink it. We need to let people do things and set Phoenix free.
Thank you very much. Want to go to Mark Curtis now, who has our first Text Team 12 question. Mark?
Yeah, Bram, the questions have been coming in tonight at 602-444-1212. That's the way you can ask these candidates tonight a question if you have one. And we've got a good one from Dominic from Ahwatukee. Dominic, thanks for writing in. He says, anyone running for any office of government should have a selfless servant mentality. What's your definition of a selfless servant, and how do you see yourself fitting into that role?
Kate Gallego. Define selfless servant. What does it mean to you?
I think you need someone who cares about the entire community, who fights for everyone regardless of background and how much wealth you've had. I've really tried to stand up for people who have struggled, and whether it's people who live in low-income neighborhoods who can't pay their parking tickets, I've fought. I've also tried to say that this is my top priority. I've been a full-time member of the Phoenix City Council, and I would be a full-time mayor. It would be an honor of my life to serve as mayor, and I want to do the best that I possibly can for the people of Phoenix.
Nicholas Sarwark, selfless service. What does it mean?
Selfless service, it's funny, my undergrad motto was actually Gateway to Service. And what that instilled in me was the idea that to those who much is given, much is demanded of. When you have privileges in life, either by birth or by color or education or how you grew up, you owe it to your community to give back. That's why instead of going to a large law firm, I served as a public defender for 5 years in Colorado. It's why I'm taking time away from my children to build a better city for them to grow up in, to give of myself to try and make this city work for all Phoenicians, not just the ones who live downtown. There's 518 square miles of this city, and a lot of neighborhoods like mine outside of the central core that don't get paid attention to. We need to have a level playing field for everyone, where everyone has the opportunity to grow and not pick winners and losers on the council.
All right, afraid I have to stop it there. We do have a break coming up. I want to send it to Mark Curtis.
All right, Bram, and we just want to thank all of our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Phoenix mayoral debate with limited commercial interruption. Don't forget, you can text in your questions for the candidates at 602-444-1212. We'll be right back.
Thank you for supporting the O'Connor Institute.
And welcome back live, everyone, to the Sneaky Big Studios here in the Valley of the Sun, as 12 News and the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute present the Phoenix mayoral debates. Don't forget, if you have a question for the candidates tonight, text us at 602-444-1212. Now let's get you back to the candidates and your moderator, Bram Resnick.
Thanks very much, Mark. We alluded to the light rail expansion in our last segment. I want to go down the line here pretty quickly. Yes or no? There's a new campaign for a citywide vote on abandoning the planned light rail expansion into South Phoenix. Yes or no? How would you vote on that? And please explain your vote as briefly as you can. Moses Sanchez.
I believe that the light rail situation stems from two ongoing problems at City Hall. One's the lack of accessibility, and one's the lack of transparency. Phoenix voters in South Phoenix were misled when it came to the light rail situation, and they're frustrated about it. And when they asked their city leaders to come down and talk to them, there was nothing. Nobody showed up.
Your vote is?
My vote is I need to figure out some more information, but right now I stand with the voters of South Phoenix.
Is that a no?
If they want to put it on the ballot, I will support them.
No?
That's correct.
Daniel Valenzuela, yes or no? Please explain your vote.
I support light rail in South Phoenix. And the majority of the voters of Proposition 104 also supported light rail in South Phoenix. For those that are watching this, and I would imagine most people actually live in Phoenix, you're being taxed. We are being taxed as we speak to make sure that light rail goes down South Central and in other areas of the city of Phoenix. And when we start talking about whether we stop the train, we're putting more than light rail on the table. We're putting public trust on the table. People voted on it. We're being taxed as we speak. That project has to continue.
Nicholas Sarwark, yes or no? Explain your vote as briefly as you can.
Yes. As a small business owner who has a busy intersection, I understand the pain that would come from reducing traffic lanes from 4 to 2. It would cripple and kill our family business. The problem with light rail and the expansion in South Central Phoenix is that this discussion about what is the effect on the community didn't happen when it should have. And when I went to the community meetings that they had after the controversy, no one was allowed to talk. They were told by Valley Metro and city representatives what was going to be good for them, and then given cards to hand in questions. So if the citizens of Phoenix want to have the conversation that we should have had during the planning stage, then by all means they should put it on the ballot and we should have that conversation and they will decide.
Kate Gallego, this was your baby.
Absolutely.
Prop 104, you led the increase in the transit tax for light rail, transit, and more police officers. You heard what Nick Sarwark said. He said you didn't ask the people about this before you went ahead.
We had a very robust and long process that went on for many months as we developed Proposition 104, Transportation 2050. And we didn't just go to traditional meeting spots like community centers. We went to barber shops. We went to ice cream parlors. We went and talked to the people, and they said overwhelmingly, we want more transportation options. We partnered with great groups like AARP, who had never endorsed a transportation campaign, but they saw what this would do for older adults. Let them age in place, stay in their homes the way they wanted to. We also heard from school board leaders who said, we can barely make it to pay our teachers as they should be, or we're not making it to pay our teachers. The more dollars that you can spend getting the kids to our classrooms is dollars we don't have to spend. And schools like Phoenix Union have gotten top remarks from auditors for the low number of dollars they have to spend on transportation because students can ride bus and rail.
All right, I'm going to stick with you, Kate Gallego. Your campaign finance reports show you raised $75,000 from people connected to the real estate investment firm that now owns the Chinese Cultural Center. That's 5 top employees and their spouses. You cast some significant votes on the issue. The city's now being sued by the Cultural Center. Why would that one company, True North, give you so much money? What do they want?
I've been proud to lead on trying to bring knowledge economy jobs, and this is a company that does that invests in startups and helps grow technology companies. There's not many people who've done more to bring technology companies to Phoenix, particularly early stage, than these particular individuals. So I'm proud of my record in that particular area. There's also no one who's running a campaign that brings in more diverse communities and celebrates the diversity in our community.
Why should voters trust your vote after hearing you received $75,000 at some point from these executives at some point in the process?
These individuals just wanted to be left alone. They had very small permits at the city, like to put up fences. Those type of permits do not go to the city council. We do not vote on those permits. We received citizen petitions to condemn the owner. That's not something that's good public policy. We get asked to condemn people all the time, like Vladimir Putin. I don't like Vladimir Putin, but that doesn't mean it's an appropriate use of city time to be condemning people. If you want to look at conflicts of interest, there's a lot to be discussed here today. There's people up here.
Name names.
So we are going to have very important decisions.
I can't let you off the hook.
Okay, we're going to have very important decisions on sporting arenas. The Arizona Diamondbacks play in a facility currently owned by a county. They have asked the city to invest more than $100 million in that facility. The Kendrick family are the owners of that. They gave a max check to Moses Sanchez. We're going to have a very important decision about the Suns Arena. They want hundreds of millions of dollars from the Phoenix City Council. Their owner, Robert Sarver, gave a max check to Daniel Valenzuela, and a lot of their other stakeholders have raised money for these individuals. I'm talking about someone.
I'm going to hold you there and give Daniel Valenzuela first a chance to respond. I was planning to get to that, and campaign finance report shows you've received at least $16,000 from Suns owners or partners. That is probably the first stadium the council and mayor are going to have to vote on in coming years. Why should voters trust that you're acting in their best interest? Similar question to what I asked Kate Gallego. Why should voters trust that you're acting in their best interest when they see the Suns owners are backing you 100%?
Well, Bram, I'll tell you, a lot of people are backing me 100%. It's not just some people that work within the Suns organization.
Let's stick to the Suns owners for now. You do have a lot of donors, but it is significant that there are at least 3 owners.
Well, we'll talk about the Phoenix Suns as an organization that's been in downtown Phoenix for many, many years, that's been a job creator for many years, that plays in a city-owned facility. And there have been talks in the past of what will happen with the next version of downtown, the next version of this particular arena. And should we have a conversation with the Phoenix Suns? I believe the mayor of the city of Phoenix cannot be a dead end. The mayor of the city of Phoenix must have the ability to sit down with anyone, and have a conversation to see where we take it from there.
So my reporting shows it's gone beyond a conversation, and there have been specifics discussed that would include a significant subsidy, significant amount provided by the city. Can you tell us now, would you support taxpayers helping to fund whatever the city decides to do about a Suns arena?
The days of taxpayers funding and burdening ourselves to fully fund a stadium or an arena are behind us.
So is that a no? You would not accept any kind of taxpayer subsidy or city subsidy for a Suns arena?
I believe it is irresponsible for anyone who wants to be the mayor to simply say, no, I refuse to have a conversation with an organization that has been an economic driver, whether it's the Phoenix Suns or any other corporation that we have downtown.
Help me understand, conversations and tax subsidies. So is that a no to any public support for a Suns arena?
I will not commit to no public support, Bram. I will. Now, before you pigeonhole me and put me in the corner here.
I'm not pigeonholing you. That's the answer. I do want to move on. I do want to get to Moses Sanchez.
Well, I think it's a little unfair, but okay.
Okay. Moses Sanchez, I believe it's Randy Kendrick.
Yes, Bram.
Husband Ken is one of the owners
Two
of
owners.
D-Backs.
One owner gave, and I'm humbled and honored to receive that support from Randy. She is a fan and she's a supporter. And to be honest with you, the Chinese Cultural Arts Center and all the protesters that you saw out there today, this isn't the first time they've been protesting, and we wouldn't be reporting about that right now if the Chinese community wasn't out there protesting and fighting this fight. And so, yes, this is standard status quo City Hall maneuvering where we lack transparency when it comes to where those dollars are coming from. The $75,000, that should be a concern. If she's gonna, or if the City Hall is gonna let the Chinese Cultural Arts Center be destroyed over $75,000, what is she gonna do, or what is the next mayor gonna do with regards to our city and the $2 million that my opponents have raised combined? I think it's really important, and when we talk about the Suns, I gotta tell you, my opponents are so quick, and I find it ironic, that they're quick to say no to tax incentives and subsidies to the Phoenix Suns, but they're quick to say yes to tax subsidies and incentives to every developer that writes them a $5,000 check.
Okay. I want to let Nick Sarwark get into this discussion. Nick, how do you see it?
So there's nothing I like more than going with my wife and 4 children to a Diamondbacks game. We like football too, and basketball. Love sports. We buy tickets. We buy tickets because we like sports. What we don't do is we don't have the city government reaching into your taxpayer pocket to take money and give it to billionaire sports developers, to team owners. And I will unequivocally say right now, I oppose any government subsidy for any sports stadium in the city of Phoenix. I find it very easy to answer that question, even though a lot of actually every other opponent on this stage has said that they'll have a conversation, or in the right scenario, or Phoenix loves its sports teams and I'll support subsidies sometimes. I will say no, because sports team owners need to pay for their own stuff, and ticket payers, people who go to games, are the ones who should support our sports teams, not city government, not small business owners, not working families in South Phoenix or Maryvale.
Got to end it there. Thank you. Let's go to Mark Curtis now. He is with our voter panel. Mark.
All right, Bram, once again, talking to our viewers out there who are sending in questions. We'll try to get to more of your questions. We want to go to the voter panel right now. Janelle is a Phoenix resident, someone who has a vested interest. She's a taxpayer. She's a citizen of the city of Phoenix. Go ahead, Janelle.
Yes, the question I have is, how will you, if you are elected mayor, improve the accountability of our chief of police as it deals with people of color, especially the adverse treatment that they have been subjected to by the police officers? I'd like to know what you'd be able to do to start to reduce that number of our children being killed by police shootings.
Kate Gallego, I will start with you. I would also add right now Phoenix has broken a record for for shootings by police officers. The county as a whole is ahead of Los Angeles County for shootings by police officers. What is going on, and what is your message specifically to Police Chief Jerry Williams?
It's not an area where we want to be leading, and it's something of great concern. But it's also a very difficult situation for our officers. I went through the simulator that our police officers use for training, and I did really badly. When you have to make those split-second decisions, it's very difficult. So what I'm proposing is that we invest in more training, more technology, and more transparency. We need more training so that our officers have the best capabilities with crisis intervention. I was proud as a member of the Public Safety Subcommittee to support the crisis intervention squads, where we have people who are highly trained in mental health and who can go out with the best training in difficult situations. That has saved lives. I think technology is also very important. I support body cameras. I support giving our officers tools so that maybe they don't have to go into dangerous situations. I also think transparency is incredibly important. When something bad happens, we need to get information out to the public quickly and transparently. I was proud to lead, with another council member, the My Brother's Keeper initiative at the City of Phoenix, which came out of officer-involved shootings at the federal level. And we sat down with officers and people in the community, particularly young men of color, to try to develop relationships and to bring back things like police athletic leagues.
Okay, I'll move to Danny Valenzuela. You have many folks like Janelle. We hear this every day. On the one side, you have a union that says they're activists who foster a opposition to police. You have the community that says police are trigger happy. How do you see it? And again, what's your message to Jerry Williams about what is going on right now with police-involved shootings?
I will say, first of all, Jerry Williams and Chief Williams, if you're watching, I believe you're doing a great job as our police chief. It is a difficult job. It's a tough job. What I will say is the way you framed that question, Bram, unfortunately, that is truly how far too many people in our community frame it. It's all or nothing, one way or the other. As we speak, there is a study that is out there that I believe is going to help us get to a point to hire more police officers, to actually put body cams on our police officers, something that I started in Phoenix with the pilot program in Maryville in 2012, and not a lot of people like that on both sides of the issue. And now I believe everyone is okay with that, right? So it's body cams, it's electronic charting, and it's also, again, studying this issue to put our cards on the table, because it's not all or nothing. There is something happening in our community. We should not be leading or breaking records when it comes to officer-involved shootings.
Okay. I want to go to Moses Sanchez. Would you give Jerry Williams an A?
What I would say to Chief Williams is that I am sorry. I apologize that the City Hall and status quo have let you down. Our police officers are undersupported and understaffed. We're looking at 10-year highs when it comes to the homicide rates, and the average police time continues to grow. We need to properly man, train, and equip our police officers. And while we're doing it, we also need to increase community-based policing. When a police officer steps out of his or her vehicle, the members of the community should know who that police officer is, and they should trust that person. And they're only going to do that when they're properly manned, trained, and equipped.
Nicholas?
What I would tell Chief Williams is what everyone in our community knows, and I don't know if our council is hearing. We have a problem in Phoenix. We should not be setting a record for officer-involved shootings. We should not be having this problem. And what we need to do is we need to look at the program that was instituted in the city of Philadelphia. Under a Department of Justice grant, they had the same problem with too many officer-involved shootings. And they brought in people who are not associated with the police community to actually listen to the community about what the problems are, why are these situations getting escalated, and actually listen. And they brought those shooting numbers down. I think we need to have a much wider ranging conversation where the members of our community in some of our poorer neighborhoods who are feeling this problem and seeing their sons and daughters get killed feel like they're being heard. Because if you go to those meetings, they don't feel like they're being heard. They feel like the council is talking down to them. They feel like the police are circling the wagons. We're not having the honest dialogue we need to have to stop the deaths.
There, thank you. I want to go to Mark Curtis now with the latest from Text Team 12.
All right, Bram, thanks. We all know that Phoenix was ground zero for the crisis that we had in the VA. We have a good question tonight from John Mendables, who is a veteran himself, and he says, how would the candidates provide more veteran housing in the city of Phoenix on land the city of Phoenix owns? Good question.
Good question. Nicholas Sarwark, what can the city do to help out with VA veterans housing?
The thing that the city can do to help out with veterans housing is the thing that the city can do to help out with all affordable housing for our lower income residents. And what it is they need to stop trying to pick winners and losers, stop using tax abatements and special favors for big developers in order to get, a certain number of apartments get a little bit reduced rent for a few years. We need to streamline the permitting process and make it easier for developers to develop housing in our city.
Okay, well, Kate Gallego, as briefly as you can, what can we do to help veterans find housing?
I'm proud that there's been more housing built for veterans in the city council district I represented than any other district. I've gone to DC and met with both HUD and Veterans Affairs officials to talk about investing in Phoenix. I've also met with social services providers because it's not just building housing, but making sure we have the support system for veterans to succeed. And I'm proud to have the support of the leading advocates for veterans housing in my campaign, like Terry Ehrman.
All right. Daniel Valenzuela, as concisely as you can.
First, thank you for your service to all of our veterans, including Mr. Mendibles, who clearly sent the text in. Several of us have helped Mayor Stanton with the veteran homelessness issue. There are some other programs that we can do. I led an effort with our Phoenix IDA around a Housing First program for veterans, first responders, and school teachers. So there are some incentive programs working with banks that can help veterans purchase a home, as an example.
All right. Moses Sanchez.
I spoke earlier about the First Step Phoenix initiative, an initiative that helps provide funding and resources for a lot of our nonprofits. As a veteran, I know what it's like, and I understand what it's like to come back home and go through the reintegration process. One of the things I'd like to do with the First Step Phoenix process is continue to work with nonprofits and provide opportunities, whether it's workforce development, temporary employment, or even housing options for our veterans.
All right, thank you. This is going to be our last question. I'm asking you for a quick answer. Will being mayor of Phoenix be a full-time job for you? Kate Gallego.
Yes.
Yes. Nicholas Sarwark.
Yes.
Daniel Valenzuela.
Being the mayor of Phoenix will be a great honor in my life.
Yes or no, full-time job?
I intend in serving in my community as a firefighter in the West Valley and as mayor. But Bram, I have to explain this. If you just allow me 10 seconds, I have to explain
10
this.
seconds.
Okay. As a council member, serving as a firefighter, no one has cast more votes, led on more issues than I have at City Hall, and I intend and continue to serve my community in this capacity.
How can you promise to serve the people of Glendale for 40 hours a week when you have a demanding job as mayor?
The question goes back to a track record. For the past 15 years, I've been a firefighter.
But you haven't been a mayor.
In 6.5 years, no one has ever asked me to stop helping people from a fire truck in order to govern in our city. And Bram, I'll tell you, in that 6.5 years, including present company here, no one has cast more votes, led on more issues, chaired more subcommittees or task forces. And so it can be done.
You can be 40 hours serving Glendale and however many hours it takes to serve Phoenix. I do have to ask, since you are part of the pension system, does that play into your decision? Is it that you just do not want to leave the pension system?
It does not. No one, I don't think I haven't met a firefighter who's ever taken the job of a firefighter for the pension. Okay, no one ever decides, I want to be a firefighter for the pension. It's a calling. My calling is to serve. And whether I'm on a fire truck or behind a dais, I serve with the same intent.
All right, thank you. Moses Sanchez, yes or no, will mayor be a full-time job for you?
Bram, as a successful entrepreneur, I can tell you this. There's only one way to be successful in your job, and that's to do 100 hours a week. Give it all your best, and I will absolutely be a full-time mayor.
All right, thank you very much. That ends our questions. We will now end the debate with 30-second closing statements from our candidates, again in reverse order of how we started the show. Moses Sanchez, please lead us off.
Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you, Bram, for hosting. If you think the last decade of dysfunctional, failed leadership is the best thing we can do, well, you have other options. I don't. See, I believe we can do better. I believe we can create a city that puts her residents first. I believe it's going to take an outsider who's led in the military, in the classroom, and in the boardroom. I believe you deserve better than what you've been getting, and if you agree with me, I hope that you vote Moses Sanchez for Mayor of Phoenix.
Thank you. Daniel Valenzuela.
The Mayor of Phoenix must be a coalition builder and a problem solver, and I've done that as a member of the Phoenix City Council, working with my colleagues to hire more police officers, to bring high-wage jobs to Phoenix, to expand our anti-discrimination ordinance. I get things done, which is why 3 members of our community who know this job better than anyone else, Mayors Skip Rimza, Paul Johnson, and Phil Gordon, have endorsed my candidacy for mayor. I now ask you for your support and your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicholas Sarwark.
As a parent of children in Phoenix, I don't have a lobbyist. As a small business owner, I don't have a lobbyist. There are lobbyists who get things at City Hall. Winners and losers are chosen, and they know who to give the money to, and they've given the money to other people in this race. I want to work for you. As everyday Phoenicians in this great city, the working families who want clean water and safe streets and police that show up in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to advocate for you. So I ask you, the everyday Phoenician, the family members, the small business owners, if you want something better, vote for me, Nicholas Sarwark, for mayor on November 6th.
Thank you, sir. And Kate Gallego.
I'm proud to be a Phoenician. I'm proud of what our city is doing. It's one of the fastest growing cities, and it's easy to be complacent. But we need a mayor who has the preparation to take the city to the next level. I've shown that I've worked hard, that I've done my research, and that I can give real, concrete answers today. I'm asking for your vote to be the next mayor of Phoenix so that we can build a Phoenix that works for everyone, that we can secure our water supply, invest in good jobs, bring more common sense solutions like I've shown I can do. Please support Kate Gallego for mayor.
And thank you very much. And thank you to the candidates for a very lively, engaging, and interesting debate. And thank you to our audience for being so respectful and quiet this whole time. You may now let loose. Mark, I will send it back to you.
Thank you. And we want to not only thank our studio audience here for watching live at Sneaky Big Studios, but for all of you for joining us for this live broadcast tonight. Very interactive. It was great having people text in and come in on social media.
Yeah, we love the interaction on social media. We also want to thank the voter panel, and it won't be the last we hear from them. We want to hear about what they heard and didn't hear today, and that'll be coming up in just a little bit.
All right, for all of us at 12 News, including Michael and Bram Resnick, who did a terrific job tonight as moderator, on behalf of 12 News and the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a few minutes for 12 News at 9.